Good evening and welcome to today's session of Trackline Webinars. This is your host Harnoor Singh Fordi. I hope this session goes very amazing because today we are going to discuss a very happening destination, especially for Indian tourists, that is Europe. So, in case you have any queries, just keep posting them in the live chat. And now, without any further delays, I'd like to begin the today's session by inviting our today's speaker, Mrs. Samyukta from Globus Holidays. Good evening, Samyukta ma'am. How are you?
Good evening, Harnoor. I am very fine. Thank you. I hope you all are well. It's lovely to see you all back after a span of almost a year. Toward the end of last year, we had done some webinars. And thank you again to all my agent participants and friends for making time today to join us for this little session. It's not going to be very long, but it's going to be like a recap of, the travel rules that we are supposed to follow now in this new world. So thank you, Harnoor, again for inviting me to speak.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And as we all know that the destinations in Europe, they have started opening for the Indian vaccinated tourists. So like the people, they are very attracted towards and looking forward for their like now the festival season is going to start, and then there is Christmas and New Year. So I hope the travel agents for them, they'll this session will be very beneficial. So I think
yes. I look forward to talking to you about this because I know how difficult it has been for all of us to sit at home, and we all started early this year by going out to some domestic destinations nearby by car and all from Delhi and Mumbai, and there are so many places to see in India itself. But yes, of course, Europe is always a choice destination, and it has been all the years. It is not going to change, and we are going to try to bring it out to you again with the best of precautions which you can follow while traveling. So what do you say, Harnoor? Should we start?
yes, sure.
Okay. All right, everybody. I'll share my screen. I have prepared something for you which should be beneficial. It'll give some information on, protocols that we are going to be following. We can tell our clients to follow. Let's start with this. Of course, the destination is Europe. Travel protocols in COVID times is our subject for today. As you can see, the little drawings that I put out for you, they are colorful, but yes, they have another side to it. You can see something called a mask, which is put on everybody's face. Now that has become a reality. It is going to be a reality for the next few years, I'm sure, till this doesn't die down really. And I really hope that beyond Europe, we are able to travel to other destinations as well after this, maybe from end of this year or next year. Let's look at Europe first and see how they have decided to open up for not only the world, but especially for tourists from Asia and India. Let's talk about Indian tourists. Let's do a small recap first. 2019 end gave us a shock. Till date, there has been a terrible influx of the coronavirus pandemic. As you know, all over the world, millions have died. A lot of businesses have collapsed. The tourism sector was the worst hit, and it faced tremendous difficulties as airlines, hotels, transporters, shops, restaurants, museums, theme parks, public spaces. They all had to face very severe restrictions. People were not allowed to travel across borders. And all these places had to maybe shut down temporarily. Some of them had to do virtual touring, create links so that you could sit at home and enjoy it nevertheless. Some new words and important actions that we learned were washing our hands frequently, which is anyway important, sanitizing, social distancing, maintaining a distance between two people or three people, staying away from crowds, and of course, masking, which is very important. And it helps you prevent the virus from reaching your nose and mouth. In 2021, I'm afraid everything is still in a very precarious state. Life has not really returned back to normal, and traveling still poses a risk. But it's not too bad this year, because the highlight of this year is that the world has found a temporary solution. And what is the solution? There have been the introduction of vaccines. Now, some of the vaccines that have come out in the market are AstraZeneca, which is also known as Covishield in India. This is from the UK by Oxford. Then we have Covaxin, which is Indian, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. There is also Sputnik, but it is not yet completely on the on the path of use. Vaccination drives and research and continuous innovations are very important, and these are being done to counter the virus. They are more or less in place now. And well, that is what is allowing travel possibilities once again, but as I said, with precautions. Okay, which are the countries in the European Union which are allowing fully vaccinated travelers from India and other parts of the world? Covishield vaccinated, that is complete vaccination, 2 doses, can travel to 16 European Union countries. So if an Indian air traveler has received both the doses of Covishield and they have the certificate with them, as well as a mandatory negative RT-PCR test report, which should be taken within 72 to 48 hours before departure from India. It is easy to travel to Europe now. Okay. Now these 16 countries are France, Austria, Belgium, you have Bulgaria, you have Finland, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Latvia, the Netherlands, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Russia has also opened up, but Russia has a little more of restrictions. There are quite a few cases there, so one has to be careful. But we will discuss a little bit about Russia as well in our presentation. Now, the vaccination certificate is available online once your doses are complete. And of course, before going, you need to take a mandatory negative RT-PCR test report with you. You have to carry all this along with your passport, visa, ticket, and other documents. On the way back, when you're coming back from that country, the same process applies. You will have to take a negative RT-PCR report from that particular country before leaving 72 to 48 hours prior to return. Now let's talk about Switzerland. Switzerland, of course, it is one of the most popular and very favorite country in Europe where Indians travel. From 23rd June onwards, the Swiss government, along with the Federal Office of Health, has eased restrictions for travel into Switzerland. The Embassy of Switzerland in Delhi and VFS Global have started accepting applications for all types of Schengen Swiss visas, including Type C, which is the visitor's visa. There are some important things that we need to note here. For Indians at the moment, only Covishield is acceptable in all the European Union countries where you're allowed to travel. Covaxin and Sputnik are not approved as yet, though they are part of the vaccination drive, but not yet in place in terms of rules and regulations. Rather, they are not yet approved by the WHO. So Covishield is the only one which you can use, and you can use that to travel. The exemptions to the health-related measures at the border countries apply for 12 months from the time that the traveler was fully vaccinated. People can actually travel 15 days post the second vaccine having been administered. Certificate of both your vaccines and negative RT-PCR report has to be carried with you without fail. The earlier rule stating that 10 days of quarantine in Switzerland upon arrival is mandatory now stands recalled. Minor children can also travel with their parents, but if children are above 18, moment they become adults, they must have a vaccination certificate. Because the vaccination drive, the first age group it starts from is 18 plus. So let's look at some more aspects of, just a recap on Switzerland. Since we have been doing it for a long time, I'm sure in the last many years, a lot of your clients have chosen this as the most beautiful destination to go to in Europe. What all can we do in Switzerland? Let's look at some suggested itineraries. 4 nights, 5 days. You can do 2 nights Interlaken, 2 nights Lucerne. 5 nights, 6 days. You can add a night in Zurich to this. 6 nights, 7 days. 3 nights Interlaken, 2 nights Lucerne, and 1 night Zurich. 8 to 10 days. You can add more. Like you can add various parts of Switzerland, like the east and the west and the southern parts. So the Italian part, the French part, and the north as well. Places like Zermatt, St. Moritz, Interlaken, Lucerne, of course, Zurich, of course, Geneva, and Montreux. Geneva, Montreux falling on the, the western part of the Swiss border, bordering with France, and places like, Lugano and all, which are on the eastern part, bordering with Italy. So you can choose from anywhere between 4 nights, 5 days to about 15 or 16 days, depending on what kind of holidays you have and what time you have in hand. As you know, Switzerland is known for its Swiss travel system and the Swiss rail passes. Switzerland has a fantastic transport network which is connected by railways, buses, boats, and also scenic trains, trams. It is best explored by comfortable, punctual, and safe railway network between all the cities. Now, once you purchase a Swiss travel pass, what can you do? From the first day or the first city of entry, you can start using it after validation right from the Zurich or Geneva airport station, from where you come in from India. It allows you to board all the trains except scenic trains, which require reservation. I will come to that later. Trams, cogwheel railways, you can go further without, worrying about the transport. Yes, but when you have luggage, suppose you are at the station and you know that your hotel is a little away from the, station, it's not walking, you can take a taxi. Taxis or Ubers will run by meter system. Best part of Switzerland is, and the Swiss travel system, that children from 6 to 16 travel absolutely free with the parents in Switzerland. And you also get a discount of up to 50% on mountain excursions with your Swiss pass. But please note, you would need to pay for the mountain passes, except one or two which are free. Swiss travel pass. This popular rail pass now will give you unlimited access, as I said. It is sold for 3 days, 4 days, 8 days, and 15 days, and allows a free entrance to over 480 museums and exhibitions. Swiss Travel Pass Flexi. What is Swiss Travel Pass Flexi? There are two kinds of passes. One is consecutive, which is you have 5 days of travel, you have a 5-night itinerary or a 6 days of travel itinerary. You will use a 4 days consecutive pass or an 8 days consecutive pass. Why is that? Because once you finish using the pass for those 4 days or 8 days, if you still have one more sector left, you will have to buy a point-to-point ticket to cover that additional sector. No point really taking an 8 days pass for a 4-day itinerary or a 15 days pass for an 8-day itinerary, but this is the way that it can be done. Now with the Flexi Pass. Flexi Pass means you have validity for a month. Now, in that 1 month, you can travel any 3 days or 4 days or 8 days or 15 days, non-consecutive, within that particular month. So, for example, your first day of validity is 15th of September. Your last date of validity will be 15th of October. So, between 15th of September to 15th of October, you will be able to travel any 3 days, 4 days, 8 days or 15 days non-consecutive at leisure. But please remember one thing now, along with your passport copy, visa copy, and documentation, importantly, you will have to carry the COVID vaccination certificate on all train journeys, because the ticket checker will come and have a look at them, and he will ensure that you are traveling with the right documents. In case you forget this, there could be a pretty big fine. So please tell your passengers that they must carry it on all public transport, not only trains. Okay, which are some of the popular scenic trains and routes? Now, we all know that Switzerland, even 15 days is not enough. But then different parts of Switzerland have different routes which are absolutely picture postcard. They are so scenic that it's well worthwhile to, in your given time, to travel on those routes by certain scenic trains. Now, these scenic trains are not really included in your pass always, most of the time, and they look different from the regular SBB trains which are parked at the stations. Now, please look out carefully. The body of your train, a scenic train, will always have the express name, like a Golden Pass Panorama or a Golden Pass Classic, or the Chocolate Train, or the Glacier Express, Bernina Express written on it, which means you just can't hop on with your Swiss pass. You will have to purchase a special seat number on that train to enter. So, which means it's a seat reservation home train, which will be extra. But you will get a discount if you show your Swiss pass at the counter and you book a particular train journey on any of these train routes or trains for a particular time. Okay, the first and very popular one, the route is Lucerne, Interlaken, Zweisimmen, and Montreux. The Belle Epoque coaches of the Golden Pass line give you a lovely opportunity to explore Switzerland just like someone in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Reservation is recommended, but it is not mandatory on this particular train. Now, this is a very popular route. Which is the second route? The second route is a chocolate train. Now, chocolate train, basically it is called a chocolate train because it will take you on a visit to the Grues cheese factory as well as the end point, which is the famous Nestle chocolate factory at Brock. The chocolate train runs from Montreux to Montbourbon by train, and then you have to take a bus to Grues. At the Grues village, you will get off and you can visit the Grues village, castle, and the cheese factory. Then you hop on back to a bus, which will take you ahead, and the train, which will take you to Brock. May to October, it will operate only on certain days of the week, not every day. And reservation with Swiss Pass or a Eurail Pass, a discounted reservation is mandatory, which you have to buy separately. The Glacier Express. The Glacier Express is notifiably good for families, but it may be slightly long for children, very young children. So if you do choose to take that, it runs 2 ways between St. Moritz to Zermatt. And it stops at various points on route, like Kur, Andermatt, Davos. Okay, so the Glacier Express takes 7 to 8 hours to complete the journey from St. Moritz to Zermatt or Zermatt to St. Moritz. What do we do here? There's a simple way. Suppose you are staying, you don't want to stay at St. Moritz and you don't want to stay at Zermatt. You're not visiting those places. You can actually take a train from Lucerne or Interlaken one of the days to Visp or Andermatt, get off there at the designated time, buy a Glacier Express train reservation ticket, seat ticket, and on that particular train, you will board the train from Andermatt and go down to the next part, maybe to Kur, for example. You can spend some time in Kur village, it's beautiful, and come back in the evening to your main point originally, which is Lucerne. This is one way of doing it. The other way is that you incorporate St. Moritz and Zermatt 2 nights each or 1 night each in your itinerary. Please make sure that you can book a nice hotel there, stay. But please note that you will start in the morning. You would be starting in the morning around maybe 10:30. That is one of the timings of the train. And you will reach only by 5 or 6 in the evening to Zermatt, which will be the entire day gone. So whatever it is that you would like to do in Zermatt, you will have to keep an extra night for it. Next morning in Zermatt, you can visit the Zermatt village. You can also take an excursion to the Matterhorn Glacier Paradise, which is one of the most scenic and beautiful glaciers in the world and also the most photographed. Trains run once a day during winter and 3 times a day during summer. Winter operations might be occasionally affected depending on snow. So you would need to check well in advance before trying to book a reservation. But only 2 out of the 4 summer trains actually complete the whole journey because many people nowadays prefer to get off at the little stops in between and just take an experience of traveling in the train. Again, reservation with Swiss Pass, Eurail Pass is mandatory. Now there's something called the Bernina Express train from St. Moritz to Tirano. And there is a bus journey from Tirano to Lugano. Now these are right on the border of the Italian, Swiss-Italian, border point. Reservation again with Swiss Pass, Eurail Pass is mandatory. It is not a journey that can be done only with the Swiss Pass. The Palm Express, which takes you almost into the Italian lakes section, the area which has Lake Como, Menaggio, Silva Plana, and comes back into Gandria. So you get to enjoy a short trip to Italy as well for the day. Tickets need to be purchased for this. This is a post bus. You have something called Gotthard Panorama Express, which will take you from Lucerne by boat to Flolin and onwards on a first-class panorama coach on the historical Gotthard panoramic route to Ticino. Ticino again is the canton, which is located right on the Swiss-Italian border. This train was earlier known as the William Tell Express, named after the famous legendary archer who was part of Swiss folklore. Reservation with Swiss Pass or Eurail Pass is mandatory, as I told you. The last one, but not the least, is something which is a grand journey for which you need a lot of time, a little more than 12 to maybe 12 to 13 days. This would cover all the important scenic routes from Zurich to St. Gallen, Davos, Lugano, Zermatt, Montreux, Stade, Lucerne, and back to Zurich. Or you can do it in reverse. You can do all these points as well as stay for 2 or 3 nights at whichever point you wish to. All the trains along this route will be scenic connections. They will require reservations, and Grand Tour of Switzerland is the name of the journey or the itinerary which you can also try. But for this, you will need about 14 to 15 days. It is not a very short journey. But it will really help you cover a lot of the major parts of Switzerland, and you really wouldn't have to miss out on anything. Coming to France, Switzerland's neighbor on the western side, what do we do here now? Rules for traveling to France. Now, measures here will be the same. You will get access to a French holiday if you have AstraZeneca, that is Covishield vaccine, and the negative RT-PCR reports. Here, the proof of vaccination will be valid if it proves that you are fully vaccinated 7 days after the second shot for 2-shot vaccines only, 7 days after the shot for vaccines administered to people who have already suffered from COVID-19. Only 1 dose is necessary. And you have to also carry a sworn declaration, which can be downloaded from the French Interior Ministry's website. The link is given here for you. Now, this must declare that you have no symptoms of COVID-19 infection and that, to your knowledge, you have not come across or been in contact with anybody who has got a confirmed case of COVID-19 in the last 14 days or 2 weeks prior to your journey. Children, unvaccinated, aged 12 and over, will need to present an RT-PCR in this case, not like Switzerland. And in case they find any symptoms of any one of your family members, anybody upon arrival, if they do some kind of a random test at the airport, you will be asked to quarantine yourself, or the local French prefect will be making the arrangements to quarantine you. Which means that you cannot really travel in the hinterland and do your holiday immediately. Now, there are some transit visa norms for France. So, since 27th April 2021, all Indian nationals in transit through the international zone of a French airport, any French airport, Lyon, it can be Nice. If you're crossing through these cities, Paris, to go to another country, you will require an airport transit visa, an ATV, except for exempted countries like USA, UK, citizens of Canada, New Zealand. You can read more here. Applying for the French visa in Canada. This is a link for you, based on the French government and tourist authority. Finally, whichever is your place of departure, if you show symptoms of COVID-19 upon arrival in France, full chances you will be quarantined or placed or kept in isolation by the prefect, which, as I told you, is something to be wary of. Which also means you would need to spend an additional sum on accommodating yourself and on food and medical expenses. Of course, you can always carry your travel insurance with you. All the travel agents, as you said, you can carry your travel insurance with you, which will cover hospitalization or any medical emergencies for COVID. Paris, the highlights. Now, TGV trains. TGV Lyria trains connect Paris in France and also other cities from Switzerland, like Zurich, Geneva, and Basel. So, like, you have direct trains which are around 4 to 5 hours journey by train. Zurich to Paris, Geneva to Paris, Basel to Paris. Here again, please don't forget to carry your COVID vaccine certificate on all the train journeys, along with your visa ticket and travel, your document, your passport. Highlights of a 3 days Paris visit could be, of course, the Eiffel Tower, which is not to be missed. The Notre Dame, of course, it remains, the exteriors remain because it was kind of destroyed by a fire about a couple of years back. It is still undergoing reconstruction and some kind of renovation by the archaeological organizations there. Place de la Concorde, Champs-Élysées, which is the main street, the Opera area for shopping, the Louvre Museum, which has the painting of the Mona Lisa, which is famous all over the world. You can also do short half-day excursions or full-day excursions to Palace of Versailles, Disneyland Paris theme park on the outskirts of Paris, which are about an hour or so away. And you can end any of the evenings with a scenic cruise on the River Seine. Just to tell you a little bit about Russia. If you're planning to visit Russia, there is an important notification which has been given out by the Russian Federation. In light of the COVID-19 related travel restrictions and rules or guidelines, Indian nationals traveling to Russia on tourist or business visas are advised to travel only on direct flights between Delhi and Moscow. You cannot transit to another country and come into Moscow, because there have been recent incidents of maybe Indian nationals unfortunately being denied entry in Russian Federation since they arrived in Russia via a third country. Now that wastes a lot of your travel time and a lot of expense, and it has government implications and local hassles. There's not really much you can do. You might be deported back, or you might be quarantined if you're caught with any symptoms. Before finalizing your travel plan, please make sure to email or consult the Russian consulate in India, and then only please make your travel plan or business plan to Russia. We haven't really touched across much of Russia before, but I'll come to that. But before that, I would like to tell you a little bit about the COVID travel rules for Russia. Entries for vaccinated travelers partially allowed. Not all countries are allowed, but luckily now India has been given, an open e-way. Vaccination requirements: you have to be fully vaccinated with Covishield. Tourist entry partially allowed, but fully vaccinated Indians, as I said, are part of the list of allowed countries. Testing, negative and RT-PCR is very important. That is a must for all the European countries. Quarantine, again, symptoms on arrival, they might quarantine you, most probably. Quarantine details: self-isolation is required if you develop any symptoms of COVID-19 while you are traveling in the country. I'm sure many of you sell packages for Russia. They're extremely popular. It is a beautiful historical country, and it has a lot of past of military rule, as well as capitalist and socialist, mostly socialist and communist rule. So let's look at some of the highlights which you can arrange for your clients to travel to Russia for 7 to 8 days. What all can you see there? You have the Kremlin, you have the Red Square, you have St. Basil's Cathedral, Pushkin and Hermitage Museums, the Bolshoi Theatre, which is known for some of the best ballet performances in the world, Volga River, where you can have cruise, Peterhof Palace, which is part of St. Petersburg Royal Palaces. Okay. I'm sure all of you may have heard of something called the air travel bubble arrangement, which was started earlier this year between the Indian government and a few countries. Now, what is this exactly? This was not opened up for tourism and transport for tourism. This was opened up because there were many people who were stranded, maybe NRIs or businessmen, students, seamen who are supposed to join back on duty, doctors who will need to go for any emergency cases, patients who need treatment abroad. Now, those are arrangements which have been made particularly for these categories of people. This is not a tourism related agreement. About air transport bubbles or air travel arrangements are temporary arrangements between two countries aimed at restarting commercial passenger services when regular international flights are suspended, which happened as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now they are reciprocal in nature, which means both countries are mutually benefiting from it. The airlines from both countries will enjoy similar benefits. There is validity, but this validity is only limited to stranded students, as I said, NRIs, emergency cases, any businessmen who came to India, any foreign tourists who got stranded here, any doctors who need to go for some medical emergencies, patients who need treatment abroad, and of course, seamen or any other people from the armed forces who need to go for any exercise outside. Countries under this scheme. Let's discuss which are the countries. USA, UK, Canada, Germany, Russia, Maldives, Bahrain, Seychelles, Kenya, Ukraine, Japan, Kuwait, Nepal, Bhutan, Netherlands, Afghanistan, Oman, Qatar, Rwanda, Uzbekistan again. Well, it's been, Uzbekistan has opened up because it was there, it was closed for some time, but it's opened up again. It is also a destination for business. Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Iraq, France, Ethiopia, and Bangladesh. Now, out of this, France and Russia have opened up for tourism as well, but with the restrictions that I already told you. You must have heard of something called the European Union Digital COVID Certificate. Now, what is this? The EU Digital COVID Certificate is a digital proof that a person has either been fully vaccinated with a COVID-19 vaccine and has recovered from COVID-19 or has had proof of a negative RT-PCR test for SARS-CoV-2. Each of these categories of the digital COVID certificate has a different duration of validity. National authorities of different countries are responsible for issuing this certificate, which should be free of charge ideally. It should include a QR code and it should be valid in all European countries. Several non-European countries have also adopted the EU DCC. Local safety protocols while traveling in Europe. Certain major safety precautions continue to apply. Adherence to sanitizing continuously, hygiene rules, maintaining the local hygiene rules, keeping a minimum distance of 1.5 meters or 5 feet from other people, wearing a surgical mask or a double mask, if that's preferred now, because there are different variants like the Delta variant and all, which have now come about, which are more dangerous. In publicly accessible areas as well as on public transport, museums, parks, monuments, in taxis, shops, and restaurants. It's very important. Restaurants are already doing their very best to keep distance between tables. Like usually they are placing a gap or they are keeping one table unoccupied. Similar manner, trains and metros in all the countries wherever they are flying have also, and buses have also started means and methods whereby they are keeping one seat empty in between all the passengers. So that somewhat helps, but please make sure it cannot still protect you because you would still need to be masked, still need to maintain social distancing and keep your sanitizer with you at all points of time, your own sanitizer. So standard prevention measures, what are those? You cannot, ideally you should stop traveling immediately and report yourself if you are exhibiting COVID-19 like symptoms. Physical distancing, sanitizing, masking, I have already told you. Preferably use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Please follow respiratory etiquette. Coughing and sneezing should either be into a tissue or into your elbow and not directly facing people or on people's faces. The use of face masks, yes, in any public conveyance, any situations where physical distancing cannot be maintained, like in a supermarket or something like that. Travelers, again, who develop any symptoms with COVID-19 during or after travel should self-isolate and seek medical advice immediately from their healthcare provider or the national public health authorities in that country, talking and mentioning clearly the details of their travel history. This is very important. Please keep this in mind, and these have to be told to all the passengers who are going there for holidays. Some of the on-paper travel measures which are very important, which need to be done. Travel-related measures which are being used by some of the countries for travelers around the world are: you have to fill in a health declaration form upon arrival, in which you are asked about possible symptoms and exposure to COVID-19. You have to give the clear information there. Negative RT-PCR report has to be shown, or a rapid antigen detection test before arriving at the destination or upon arrival. Requiring a quarantine period for incoming travelers with or without testing for release. Temperature screening upon arrival. This is taking place at all the airports, railway stations, bus stations, and other places, and public places like restaurants and theaters, museums, and pubs, with a thermometer, digital thermometer, or any other device. The European Union COVID certificate, which is essential, as I told you. Then a passenger locator form. Now, what's a passenger locator form? A passenger locator form is something where you have given your contact number, address, local address where you will be staying, so that in case there is someone who, someone who was traveling with you who has developed symptoms of the virus, you will be connected to and contacted as well, because you were in touch with that person or you have met that person before starting your journey. So you will be contacted through the passenger locator form. Now, the World Health Organization has launched a small chart which has 3 factors which will help you make safer choices. Now, what are those? When you're in an area of widespread COVID-19 transmission, open air spaces like public parks, forests, zoos are much better. It's good to be in the open air spaces because the transmission of the virus over long distances is a little limited. You must keep as far away from crowded areas or cluttered areas as possible where there are too many people, because there are full chances of the virus spreading through either touch or through breathing. Shorter time periods with others are better and safer. If you have meetings that you cannot avoid, or you need to meet family members or people in public places, please make sure that your meetings with those people are during a limited time frame only. Please do not stay longer than necessary. These 3 factors are very important to keep in mind while traveling, other than the health and sanitization procedures. Okay, now there was a new Schengen Visa rule. What do we need to do here? Now, once at this point of time, if you have bought your visa for traveling for a holiday, before applying, you would need to mention in your application letter that you intend to visit the neighboring European Union countries as well by road and rail, and hence they should give you the multiple entry visa accordingly. After you receive the Schengen visa from that consulate, you would need to send them an email as well to ask for final written permission to cross the borders. Explain and tell them number of days you will be visiting the neighboring countries for, and whether you'll be coming back to their country before leaving for the final destination, that is India. These have to be given. Once the email permit reply comes from the consulate, this also must be carried along with your other travel documents and shown at all respective border stations, checkposts, railways, railway stations, airports, and any other local entry or exit points. If you are doing a self-drive itinerary, or you are having a driver drive you from place to place, or you're taking the railways and local flights, this has to be also carried along with you everywhere. If you are, for example, traveling to Switzerland, and after you got your Schengen visa from the Swiss consulate, you must write to them for permission to travel to Germany, France, Austria, Italy as well, if you're planning to go there. And you must mention the detailed dates, check-in, check-out, raid and roll journey details, how long are you going to be there, and what all you're going to do, and whether you're coming back to Switzerland after that and then moving to India. Now, we have a special agreement, with the Swiss consulate, which has allowed us as a company, Globus Holidays. We have started, we have brought out a group departure, which is a coach departure for Paris and Switzerland. This coach departure will start on the 28th of December for the New Year's. I'm coming to that. You can actually book your guests on this. And because it is our group, we have a kind of a waiver and an understanding from the Switzerland tourism and Swiss consulate that our passengers would be allowed to cross over. However, this only depends on whether you're booking the group departure with us. So this is the group departure, Swiss and Paris, New Year group departure, bringing you into 2022, hopefully in happier spirits. Paris to Switzerland by coach, the duration will be 6 nights, 7 days. Departure date is 28 December and it will end on 3rd of January. Please follow this link for the tour details and the itinerary as well as the inclusions and exclusions. Book with us, contact us, Globus Holidays. We are happy to help you. Our Delhi office is located at 322 Jaina Tower, District Center, Janakpuri. These are the email IDs where you can write to us. This is the phone number. You can contact my colleague, Ms. Manisha. In Mumbai, you can contact our colleague, Ms. Kinjal Patel. Her contact details and phone number are also given there. Please feel free to write to us for this departure or any other FIT queries that you would like to customize for your clients at any point of time, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Now, one small point which I haven't put here, but I'll include for you just in my afterthoughts. I would like to tell you that we are going to be organizing a compulsory gala dinner, which is going to be part of the tour. Now, this is not included in your 69,999 rupees, which is the cost of the tour per person. 3,500 per person in Indian rupees will be charged for a gala dinner with drinks. And this would be likely done on New Year's Eve. We'll tell you exactly which day or which city it is going to be done, but it's going to be 3,500 rupees per person extra, which will be a gala dinner supplement for New Year's, which will be charged apart from the tour price. And your air travel, your air ticket, visa, medical insurance, any other, things like RT-PCRs, reports, results, all that will all be extra. Travel insurance. We will not be, including that in the package. Our package comprises mainly of accommodation, coach, point-to-point coach, all through the journey, meals, driver, throughout, and English speaking or Hindi speaking, tour guide. And along with that, mainly breakfast and dinners. Breakfast will be continental and dinners will be Indian. As well as, of course, the main highlights, the sightseeing tours in each of the places as per the itinerary will be included. I come to the end of this. I hope that it was a nice session and you were able to understand some of what we want to put across to you here. We are waiting for your customers to start traveling again, which I hope will be very soon. And we also wish and hope for better times and safer times. So I thank you and wish you a very happy journey and a good year ahead. Looking forward to meeting all of you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. This was a fantastic session and it was very informative, especially for the travel agents. Like you mentioned it in brief and in a perfect manner, like how to travel from one country to another following the COVID protocol, which is actually very important. And I believe it will benefit our travel agent partners to the best of their abilities. And of course, now we'll open the house for a Q&A session. And for the audience, if you have any queries, just keep posting them and we'll take them up now. So,
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question we have is from Mr. Anish Chanda, and he's asking is where to apply for EU digital certificate that you mentioned.
Yes, the EU digital certificate, they have a proper website and a link. We will be sharing that with you on email. Please feel free to connect with us whenever you have the query ready. We'll share with you all the details for that.
Yes. So the next question is from Mr. Varun Sharma. They are asking is, do you help in issuing Euro Rail Pass and BitRail?
Yes, of course. We are doing everything, everything which involves the whole sphere of tourism in Europe, right from end to end. We will do the hotels, we will do your restaurant booking. If you like to eat, proper Indian meals at any point of time, we can try and arrange that. Your railway journeys, local cars, transfers, sightseeing tours, guides will all be arranged by us as required by your passengers.
So I believe as of now, we do not have more queries coming in. And obviously this session was very informative. So I don't think there are any more queries left. Still guys, if you have audience, if you have any queries, you can always ping us. We are really happy to help you. Thank you so much, Samyukta ma'am, for joining today and like having this session with our audience.
Thank you.
Special thanks to the audience for taking out time and joining this session. So if you like today's webinar, do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to press the subscribe button and bell icon so that you do not miss on any future webinars happening here at Trackland channel. Thank you so much, audience.
Thank you. Bye, Hanu. Bye. Thank you so much.